Is there anything good you think the administration has done in these 6 months at the border?
If you ask me, is there anything that they have done good in terms of immigration? I don't know.
Well, that's comforting to hear from the mayor of Los Angeles. Yeah, Karen Bass proving that she is more clueless than we even thought. And welcome to Monday. It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka sitting in for my friend Chris Plant as he vacations on the Chris Plant Cruise. Is there really a vacation when it's called the Chris Plant Cruise? Because you're probably holding forth on the poop deck or something, or some deck. I'm not sure which deck. The Lido deck. Yes, the Lido deck. It's probably the one that faces the beach. But it is a Monday, and it's a Monday that's rich with Democrats saying the darndest and sometimes dumbest things, as witnessed by L.A. Mayor Karen Bass talking with ABC News. It was absolutely stunning to watch that happen. I believe that was ABC News. I think it was. But the mayor of Los Angeles, who used to be in Congress, and then she got her retirement package, which included that she's going to be the mayor of L.A., and she didn't even have to be in L.A. when the fire happened, the Palisades fire that just wiped out so many homes in that city. And let's see, how many of those homes have been rebuilt now? How many homes? So can we, I don't think we'd have to take off our mittens to count. Because despite all the stories that they told us, oh, yes, we're going to expedite. Everyone's going to be able to rebuild quickly. No, they're not. They really aren't. And over the very same interview, we were told that there's going to be a problem with rebuilding those homes because Los Angeles requires all this labor, all this intense labor from people who are here illegally. So well done, Mayor Bass. You're proving once again that the voters of California, specifically Los Angeles, are just idiots. Really, really idiotic. And L.A., I don't know why anyone would move to L.A. unless they had to. I just don't. Is there any reason why you would? You might be under some sort of mental health investigation if you do. Other things that happened over the weekend, we have to give you updates on some of the Epstein madness. When I saw CNN and one of its allegedly centrist hosts, Michael Smerconish, saying that Donald Trump never could have drawn the doodle, the scandalous body doodle. I thought, okay, the left is maybe going to give up on the Epstein thing, but they're not. They're not. But that did happen over the weekend. We did have Smerconish say, "No, I've seen that." We also had, I think it was Michael Cohen was on CNN, and he said it. He said it too. I've never seen Donald Trump doodle. I've never seen him doodle. I think we may have seen a doodle or two. But his signature looks like a doodle. Michael Cohen, who's starting to look like Woody Allen now. He could be a Woody Allen stunt double. Cohen was on with Jake Tapper as CNN, I think, is trying to step back from the Wall Street Journal story that Donald Trump is suing the Wall Street Journal for $10 billion. That's now come out over the weekend. I don't think CNN wants that kind of a lawsuit, so they appear to be distancing themselves. Maybe, possibly.
Well, what was your take?
I agreed with him. I've never, not once, and again, over 13 years of being by the man's side, I have never once seen him doodle. I never saw him draw a picture. In fact, I would be very shocked if Donald Trump actually can doodle.
Now, here he is. He couldn't resist Michael Cohen after 13 years of being by Trump's side. Now, still a little bit, what's the therapy term for this? I want to make sure I get it correct. If you've been to therapy, you know this. Michael Cohen still, well, he's still butthurt that he never got the big gig in the first Trump administration. But he's saying he had to get a little shot in there. I'd be very surprised if he could doodle. He doesn't doodle. He not only looks like Woody Allen, he's now starting to sound like Woody Allen of the 70s. Seriously.
He can doodle. It's just not his thing. And the language, using words like enigma, that's not a Donald Trump word. I mean, he certainly knows what the word is, but it's not a word that he uses. I found the whole thing just to be odd. Now, I wouldn't be shocked if somebody had turned around and reached out to the office and said, hey, look, we're putting together a birthday book for Jeffrey. Can Donald doodle something on there? And these are the words that we want you to use in some doodle. He then gave it to an assistant. Many of his assistants were not just good artists, but fabulous artists.
Only the best artists. I only hire the best artists for doodling. What a waste of time. Why is CNN doing this? Why? To quote Joe Biden. Why is CNN doing this? It appears to me, or would appear to a thinking person, that CNN is deathly afraid of getting the same kind of $10 billion lawsuit. Now, the suit that Donald Trump has filed against the Wall Street Journal, we'll see if there's any possibility that it will get some traction. I'm not sure. I'm not certain it can. There's a whole lot of room in there, but if they can prove that CNN knew that it was, or that the Wall Street Journal knew that alleged letter from Donald Trump was not from Trump, then there may be a settlement forthcoming. We shall see. But I mentioned Michael Smerconish. He's doing weekend stuff on CNN. You see him pop up every now and then. CNN likes to say, well, he's kind of in the middle, right? They portray him as the more reasonable of their hosts.
It's hard to believe that the president would have written the imaginary conversation between himself and Epstein 22 years ago. I mean, listen to some of the back and forth. Jeffrey, yes, we do, come to think of it. Donald, enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? Jeffrey, as a matter of fact, it was clear to me last time I saw you. Donald, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday. And may every day be another wonderful secret. That doesn't sound like something Donald Trump would write.
No, it doesn't. And not only that, Trump has denied it. Trump has stood up. What do you think on this? I think we're going past this pretty quickly, but I think that this denial of it by CNN, both with Tapper and Smerconish, seems to be trying to send a message to the Trump administration. And that message would be, please don't sue us. Please don't sue us, sir. Yeah, maybe that's the case. A lot of stuff happening today, and I hope you'll be part of the program. 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. As I said, there's a couple more twists and turns to the Epstein story. Will we get some of the documents that the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, requested from a grand jury and a judge on Friday? I don't know. We are hearing that DNI Tulsi Gabbard is going to return or release more of the records from what she says is one of the greatest conspiracies in politics in America ever, that the Obama administration really worked to not just hinder the first Trump administration, but to basically stop it, possibly to overturn the election. We'll get into that. Was it seditious conspiracy? And speaking of conspiracies, James Carville, he just is the gift that keeps on giving. James Carville has delivered yet more unbelievably stupid, wild speculation as it relates to Epstein and President Trump. That's always fun. I have to play that for you because, and we have appropriately bleeped it. And the controversy over the names in professional sports, the Redskins, the Commanders, which do you prefer? I never wanted them to change it from Redskins, but now that it's been Commanders, I think it might be hard to flip it back. Donald Trump wants it flipped back. At the same time, if it flips back, what other mascots that were overturned or ousted by political correctness, what other mascots or company spokespeople, spokesmodels, spokescharacters what other mascots will be maybe asking for their jobs back? Could it be that Aunt Jemima's coming back? Maybe Uncle Ben will be back on the rice boxes? We should talk about that. What do you think about that? And there's just a whole bunch of fun out there as some of us who normally would not have watched the WNBA All-Star game tuned in and got a little bit of a surprise when the players came out for their shoot-around. I think the WNBA players are about as out of touch with the economic reality as the people who are supporting Stephen Colbert. Yeah, the news that Colbert's show was going away eventually. Still, he's still got 10 months to rack up about $14 million worth of paychecks from CBS before they have to end the show. He's still going to use his platform, I'm sure, to go after everybody on the right because he can. And they're still going to be shoving every Democrat candidate, every Democrat who needs to get in front of a camera and a microphone out there that will be on Colbert's show until the end. But a lot of people are speaking up, including Jon Stewart. We'll share that with you. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, didn't she have a show where she was kind of a fake politician? And didn't Colbert have a show where he was kind of a fake political correspondent? Yes. So, well, those two seem to have merged as well. And Jamie Lee Curtis is now pleased that Colbert is going to be out of show. Oh, it's only going to make us louder, she says. It's only going to make it. Thank you. We liked your movies, but and the Hollywood Reporter is actually standing up and says the Writers Guild is demanding an investigation. The Writers Guild is saying there must be an investigation into the end of the Stephen Colbert show. Okay, here's your investigation. We pay, I don't know, somewhere between $50 and $60 million a year to make the show. It loses somewhere between $20 and $30 million a year. That's not sustainable. Show's over. There you go. We've solved it. We've saved you a bunch of money. No, they're still going to be grousing. They will grouse until the end. And I would like to think that CBS would go gracefully and ride off into the sunset with this, but I don't think they will. It'll be kicking and screaming. After all, they're Democrats. And like I said, we will have more dumb things Democrats say throughout the show today because they had an entire weekend to gift us with excellent stuff. And a brief update from the ship. A very brief update from the ship from Chris Plant. When we get back, it's Mike Opelka in for my buddy Chris Plant on this Monday on the Chris Plant Show.
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at WashingtonTimes.com/Chris.
It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka in for my friend Chris Plant, who's vacationing and cruising with some of the listeners. And just so you won't feel left out, Chris sent us a little bit of a video, just a kind of a teaser of what it's like, what life is like on the deck of the ship. And I'll try and describe. I know it's radio, but I think you'll get the flavor of what's going on the Chris Plant cruise at this point. And, you know, things change every day, so there may be a different view as we speak. But this came in yesterday, looking across the railing of the ship into what appears to be, there's some water out there, but there's a whole lot of fog. And it just seems very calm, very nice and calm and serene, if you will.
Pardon me.
And that's Chris with his message from the deck of the cruise. I'm wondering, was that Chris or was Jerry Nadler allowed on the Chris Plant cruise? Because that's what I envision. is emitted whenever you're near Jerry Nadler. We talked earlier today about the fact that the president has hinted, very strongly hinted, I guess, that he would like the name of the Washington football team, now called the Commanders, to be returned to the Redskins. Dan is calling from D.C. Dan, thanks for joining the program. How do you feel about all this?
Good morning, Mike. Sorry for the rough voice. I've got some polyps that I got to deal with. But anyway, I was kind of sitting on the fence for most of this. Most of the complaints that were being levied at that particular point in time, it was started by the Democrats. If it was offensive to one person, then it was offensive. But Native American groups did not have a problem with the logo of the Washington Redskins. Yeah. Amanda Whitehorse had a problem with the name. Conversely, they didn't have a problem with the name Indians for the Cleveland baseball team. They had a problem with the cartoon caricature of Chief Wahoo. That said, some of these younger folks that were jumping on this bandwagon were calling for Florida State to change the name from the Seminoles to something else because the Seminoles weren't from Florida. They were from Oklahoma. And I was like, what did you just say? Most of the southeastern tribes in the United States were all rounded up by Andrew Jackson and marched out to the Oklahoma Territory. And that's what they call the Trail of Tears. But they're not teaching that in history.
Yeah, nobody teaches history overall, much less specific history. But, Dan, as you probably know, the Seminoles get a nice big check from the casinos. You know, the Seminoles get paid. The Seminoles have basically sold the rights. And so it's the same thing with some of the casinos that are out there. They're doing very well, the tribes that have decided to merchandise. But I just wonder, do you think, Dan, this is going to happen? What do you think? Do you think what the chances are that this will return? Because I'm one of the people who's dubious. I don't think they're going to go back, but I'd like them to.
I don't think they're going to go back. Josh Harris's group has already said they're going to move on. However, I PM'd you a piece of artwork that I actually had produced. I've got it on 3 shirts. They didn't want to do anything that had anything to do with any Native American culture. So it was the Commander's W with the spear from the 60s helmet going through it minus the feather. Because, I mean, the Peloponnesians had spears, the Romans had spears, the Greeks had spears. Get over it. And they call themselves the Warriors. Now, if they had just changed the name, put Commanders, look, I hate that name. They should have. Danny should have come up with something better than that.
Well, we're with it now. I still think maybe they go back to a potato on the helmet. Redskins. See what we did there? It's Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant. It is the Chris Plant Show on this Monday, the 21st of July. Mike Opelka sitting in for my friend Chris Plant. We are 470 days away from the midterm elections. 470 days. And it's going to go like that. Ding, just click, and they'll be here. And a lot of people are thinking about it. Not too much today, but I just want to put that in the back of your mind as you hear people talking about the directions that they are taking with their political moves. Because the people that think about such things are already laying out timelines. And President Trump, I know he's very focused on getting as much done ahead of the midterms as possible. Not just the one big, beautiful bill. We had the Genius Act about the cryptocurrencies on Friday. And now this Truth Social post that talks about how the name of the Washington football team, which was actually called the Washington football team for a season or so, well, they figured out what they were going to call it. Because remember, the outrage got so huge. The outrage, because the outrage generators were out there cranking the handle on the outrage machine at extra speed, trying to create more outrage than actually existed, that after the name was changed, they didn't have a replacement name yet. They're like, we'll get back to you. We're going to work, we're focus grouping the new name and the logos, et cetera, et cetera. And eventually it became the Commanders. I'm still not in. Sorry. But I don't know if the president can squeeze this and make it happen. So that was one of the things we asked today. And then additionally, if it comes back, if the Washington Commanders become the born-again Redskins, who else is going to get their mascot or team name back? Who else? And I agreed with the caller earlier. I think his name was Dan or Don, who talked about the Cleveland Indians mascot was just offensive. So why didn't you change the mascot and make it a more noble mascot like the helmet for the Redskins? But will Aunt Jemima return? Will Uncle Ben return? Will we have Eskimo pies again? No, because those were all deemed racist. Will the Native American princess once again adorn the Land O'Lakes butter? I just wonder. Last week we talked about the ESPY Awards and Shane Gillis and what was a 9.5 minute opening monologue that was just brilliant because it was just funny. It didn't deal with political correctness. And I wonder where we're going with this push to return the Redskins name to not only the team, but to the stadium, the whole thing. What do you think? Brad is in Key West, Florida this morning. Brad called 888-630-9625, joining the Chris Plant Show. Hello, Brad. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Mike. I've been listening to you all for a while, and it sounds like you and Chris and I have similar upbringings in the North Shore of Chicago.
Oh, wow.
And, I grew up in Northbrook. I was kicked out of Glenbrook North.
Oh, my.
Anyway.
Is the statute of limitations expired, Brad? Are you okay?
Yeah, it's just for smoking and not showing up for class.
Oh, what pesky things to enforce. Yeah, well, Chris and I both grew up very close to Northbrook. I worked in the Dominics in Northbrook at one point, but that's for another day. But what's on your mind?
So, first of all, what you were just talking about, what's coming back, is just the other day in Florida, Boynton Beach has painted over their rainbow sidewalks. And they're worried about Miami and Key West having to do the same thing because the state has deemed them a distraction to driving. So I thought that was kind of weird how we all had to pay for that to be done in the first place. Now we're paying for them to get covered up. But that's not why I called. That's not why I called. What I called about was Seminole Indians. My family on my dad's side were some of the first settlers in Fort Pierce, Florida. We started Fort Pierce in Okeechobee, and it was all cattle. And a guy came down from the Smithsonian Institute and took a Seminole Indian chief's bones back to the museum. And the Seminoles were ready to massacre everyone. And my relative was the first sheriff of St. Lucie County.
Wow.
And he was able to get the bones back from the museum and became a hero for the Seminoles. But he died later in a shootout in 1915 with the town marshal of Fort Pierce. And the town marshal's last name is Disney. Walt Disney's relative killed my relative. And you can look this up online.
Brad, you've got a movie in you right now. I'm just saying, you've got the connections to Disney, to the Smithsonian, to the Native Americans, to the founding of the parts of the region of Florida, to the development of Florida. This is amazing, Brad. I expect you'll be hearing from some agents very soon. This is first of all, it's a great history lesson. But secondly, wow, what a story. What a rich family. I hope you're writing this down, because this needs to be retold, especially the Disney connection is really interesting as well. Thank you, Brad. That's a wonderful little Monday history lesson. So it's not just all politics here, but eventually it comes back to politics, because it always does. That's what we do. Let's check in with Stephen in Martinsburg, West Virginia. Hello, Stephen. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show. Stephen.
turn off the TV.
Stephen, turn off the TV. We can't have the TV on. It violates some kind of, it'll open a portal. Stephen, hello.
Sure. Hello.
Hello, Stephen. You're on, brother.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Mr. Opelka, I appreciate the opportunity. I want to share with your listeners something that I saw on the Steve Colbert show that I think would be interesting to Chris Plant listeners and listeners writ large. When you saw the other night, they put on a song that was recorded and became very popular in World War II called "We'll Meet Again." All the veterans in the audience would recognize that song.
Yes.
And it was a sort of a farewell anthem for Chris Plant, for Steve Colbert's long time in the Tonight Show. What I wanted to mention, though, is I noticed that they had Dr. Henry Kissinger created and inserted into that song through artificial intelligence. And those listeners that doubt me can go back and see it on YouTube. He has been dead since November of 2023. I doubt very much that these wonderful people at CBS took the time to get permission either from Dr. Kissinger's son or from his press agent to have that endorsement of Steve Colbert or participation in that sketch.
Well, that's interesting. I'm going to have to look that up because we're about to dive a little more into the Stephen Colbert cancellation. I'll have to check that one out. Thank you. Yeah, that's kind of weird. But, the rules about using AI and on social media, I think, might be very different than utilizing them on broadcast television. We will see. I'll dive into that. But thank you. That's pretty cool. Very interesting. And speaking of the Colbert story, Jon Stewart, who falls under the CBS umbrella, has reason to be concerned. I would think Jon Stewart, who was the second host of The Daily Show. The Daily Show was first hosted by a guy named Craig Kilborn, and I think it was 1999. They launched it with Kilborn, and you don't know where he is these days. But I thought he was a pretty interesting host when The Daily Show was out there. And then when he left, Stewart ended up being the main host there. And then he eventually got all selfed up and left and came back, though, recently. But he's only doing 1 day a week. And he was on a podcast this past weekend talking about the situation, not just with Colbert, but how it reflected on him because the new soon-to-be, if it's approved, owner of the Paramount Group, which is CBS and Comedy Central, is Skydance. And would they be looking at the Colbert Show? I'm sorry, the Daily Show, and possibly canceling it like Colbert? Well, Stewart was asked that question.
What do the listeners want to know this week?
First up, John, do you think that Skydance would get rid of the Daily Show after the merger goes through?
Skydance, the company that's coming in?
Yes.
Boy, that's a good question. I have, unfortunately, we haven't heard anything from them. They haven't called me and said, like, don't get too comfortable in that office, Stewart. But let me tell you something. I've been kicked out of shittier establishments than that. We'll land on our feet.
Well, you'll land on your feet because you made a whole bunch of money, which is good for you. I don't begrudge anybody who's been able to be successful, but I'm guessing that Jon Stewart's a little bit nervous, and he was trying to maybe make his case as this podcast continued. Stewart seemed to be flexing a little bit and trying to let the potential new owners know just how valuable his little show is.
I honestly don't know. I mean, I think I'd like to believe that, without the Daily Show, I don't know. Comedy Central is kind of like Muzak at this point.
Huh.
I think we're the only sort of life that exists on a current basis other than South Park.
Reruns of The Office.
But it's the only thing on there. I'd like to think we bring enough value to the property. Like if they're looking at it as purely a real estate transaction, I think we bring a lot of value. but that may not be their consideration. I don't know. They may sell the whole place for parts. I just don't know.
It's kind of interesting to learn how these people think they are above everybody else. If you look at South Park on Comedy Central, that's the show that everyone I talk to says that's the only reason they watch the show. The Daily Show, with its rotating cast of hosts, is Stewart's the only one with a regular spot there on Mondays. I don't think there's any reliability, any ability to connect to that network other than South Park. And I know there's a bunch of late night people who stay up for some of their animation stuff that happens overnight, but Comedy Central has ceased to be, at least in my book, the go-to. There's nothing really urgent happening there aside from, and I do believe it's South Park. But, you know, John wants to make sure everybody knows that he's proud of what they've done.
I'm so happy and proud of everybody that works there that, like, they want to do that, knock themselves out. Well, you know, as Jay Leno would say about Doritos, go ahead, crunch all you want. We'll make more. So we'll figure that out when the time comes and where we have to do it. But like I say, that is I have no knowledge. You know, we've all got a surmisal about like who actually is owning it and what his ideology is, but ideology may not play a part. I just don't know.
Very, very interesting. An inside look at what appears to be potential collateral damage after the Colbert ending. Very, very interesting. We'll see where this goes. I think there's great likelihood that either the new group that's going to own the Comedy Central brand among all the other Paramount channels is probably going to be cutting up, doing exactly what Mr. Stewart speculated. They probably will cut them up and sell them off. There may be an entity that has a whole bunch of comedy films available in their library that would like to then have Comedy Central where they could run their movies, burn off their inventory, as they say. So I wouldn't be surprised. I think he sees the writing on the wall, and he's trying to go out nicely. But it doesn't look good. I would be noting that Comedy Central and The Daily Show are likely on the next to go list. We will see. You're welcome to weigh in on any and all of this. 888-630-9625. 888-630-9625. It's Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant on The Chris Plant Show. And welcome back to the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka sitting in for my buddy who's on the cruise, the Chris Plant Cruise. The Chris Plant Show, you got the Chris Plant Cruise, he's got the Chris Plant Life. Wrapping up the first hour of the program today, we've been talking about the push by the president to change the name of the Washington Commanders back to the Redskins. We also talked a little bit about the Colbert Show ending, and you, the fabulous Chris Plant listeners, have weighed in with some brilliant thoughts and comments. So let us do a little bit of a lightning round here, go back to the phones as we wrap up this first hour. Mike is in Stevens City, Virginia. Hello, Mike. You have an idea?
Yeah, I first proposed this when the question came up back years ago. You get the Democrats on board by getting them to hate something more. So propose the Washington Orange Skins and use Donald Trump as the logo on the side of the helmet.
See, you know, I've seen that logo with Trump as the logo. That I didn't know they were calling it the Orange Skins. Maybe the Orange Men. Oh, we already have that, don't we?
We already have the Orange Men.
Yeah, you're right. Syracuse has got that. Yeah, but that I like the Orange Skins. They would be so mad if that would happen. But, you know, I don't think the owner's going to do that. That's a pretty good one. I like this idea. If you want to irritate the libs, just give them something else to hate more. That's a wonderful thing. Thank you, Mike. Great idea. Let's go to David in D.C. Hello, David. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Hello. Hi, Michael.
Hey, brother.
Listen, I think they ought to just do the same thing with Green Bay. Let's put it on the big board, sell shares on it, and forget about charging my taxes into some big business situation as the as the stadium business.
Yeah, that's an interesting take on this, and that is one of the more unusual situations. The only of the 32 NFL teams that actually has public ownership is Green Bay, and it's really kind of tied to the local community. It's not like a big stock trade, but that's be very interesting. You can't do it yet. You can't do it right now, but that would be funny if people could buy shares of the Redskins, the Commanders, and then stand up at the annual meeting and say, "Excuse me, we'd like to propose something." That would be very interesting. These owners, most of these very wealthy sports team owners, don't have the patience for the general population to step in and vote on stuff like that. But it's a good idea. Thank you. Thank you, David. And one more here. Greg's in New York. Hello, Gregory. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, Mike. I have an idea. My idea is Donald Trump offers double the going advertising rate to CBS, and he, just during Colbert show, he sells his watches, his Bibles, every commercial set. This way, it'll drive the viewers insane. They won't be able to sit through a commercial. They should suffer as much as everybody else has to.
Wow, this is a really interesting move, Greg, and this is a typical New York move. I love this. I spent 23 years in Midtown Manhattan, and I love this thinking. But here's the idea, Greg. Donald Trump has a $16 million settlement that's coming from CBS. If he folded that into an ad buy that only is on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, now I think this is a net zero deal. You don't have to put out any money. You could spend over $1 million a month advertising for the next 10 months and just blanket the airwaves with Trump ads, Trump watches, like you said, all kinds of Trump propaganda to torture the CBS viewers. Oh, great idea. I salute you, Greg. Well done, sir. All right, I'm going to take a break. First hour in the can. When we come back, we'll give you an update on the horrific situation actually happened in New York with an illegal who shot a member of the Border Patrol. And there's a big press conference been happening. We'll give you the updates on that, plus a whole bunch of other crazy stuff. It's Opelka in for Plant on the Chris Plant Show.